Welcome to Behind the Baton number 13. It's a special thrill for me to speak to JoAnn Falletta, one of the great conductors appearing before the public all over the world. A remarkable artist, a remarkable leader in so many ways, and it's the first time that we, in these discussions I've done now just a few. I did one with a guitar.
You did.
Your
Good for
instrument,
you. Good for
Jason,
you. Yes.
And you have a guitar competition.
That's right, and I know Jason very well. He's from Buffalo.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's a big star.
Well, we did 2 segments with Jason.
Excellent. Excellent.
And I had him at the spur of the moment. His guitar was. I said, "Why don't you just play something?" I mean, it's incredible to hear.
He is wonderful.
Well,
He's wonderful.
Let's start there. Guitar. I mean, guitar competition. How unusual is that? Are there many? Well, they're very big within the guitar community, but I mean, with a major conductor, a major orchestra.
Well, with orchestra, there are really, I think maybe only one other one that exists once in a while in California. But there are a lot of solo guitar competitions. But we were anxious to help the guitar take the stage as an orchestral solo, and we've done it now for almost 2 decades, and it's been fabulous because we've gotten great guitarists from all over the world. In fact, we've never had an American winner all this time. We're waiting, but truly great guitarists from as far away as Thailand and Canada and everywhere.
Was it hard to? I mean, so is the Buffalo Philharmonic? Do they sponsor this?
We have a joint sponsorship with Buffalo Philharmonic and the WNED, our classical station.
Was it hard convincing people about a guitar competition?
No, in fact, it draws an amazing
I mean,
audience.
with you could convince anyone of anything.
But I think, guitar is an instrument that crosses boundaries. Even if you're not a classical music lover, you know guitar. You like jazz guitar, you like folk guitar, you've strummed a guitar yourself. So we see a very different audience in addition to our normal audience coming in because it's guitar, and it's very exciting, and it's a competition, so there's a lot of tension in the air, and there's also the audience votes. It's a little bit judges prize, the orchestra prize, the audience prize.
Nice.
It's exciting.
Okay, now I'll give you my prejudice now, which I assume is not yours. I have a prejudice against amplification, so I hate all amplification.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't like jazz bands playing amplified. I mean,
Right,
Count
right.
Basie didn't play amplified. Duke Ellington didn't play amplified, except for the singers, obviously.
Right.
Why do you get into a small room and a jazz band plays and everybody has to have a microphone and you're just like, oh, please help. And so I'm also a little prejudiced. It's a prejudice. Maybe my only prejudice I have in my life
Against guitar.
is against the amplification. I love guitar,
Yes.
and I do with Jason. I do with him all the time, but I
Yeah.
don't amplify.
You don't amplify, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess a lot depends on how big the hall is, the acoustics of the hall,
That's right.
and the fact, Jerry and I mean, you record so often, so you know this, that people get used to hearing recordings, and where everything is controlled by the engineer, and the guitar sounds very loud, and then if they go into a concert where their guitar does not project that way, they feel somehow that they couldn't hear it well enough. So we do it very lightly, and we spend a lot of time making sure that it's subtle enough that no one can tell that it's amplified.
Yeah.
It simply gives it a kind of a presence or a glow.
Yeah.
So
Well, look, there's even this system I'm sure you're aware of called the Meyer amplification.
Right, that's
that
right.
comes
That's
out
right.
of Berkeley.
Right.
And where I don't know if everybody knows about it, but you can actually fix the acoustics in a lousy place with and no one even notices.
No one knows it. Right.
I mean, there are microphones everywhere. There are speakers everywhere. You don't know it, but it
Right.
fixes lousy places.
Right. And
It's a lot cheaper than
that's
knocking them
right.
down.
You can't
Doing
always
it
build a
over.
building the way you did.
So I
but
guess I should
yes.
get over my prejudice and realize that there has been
Why not?
there
Why
has
not?
there
Yes.
has been improvements that have
Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
So see, I would never call you. No, I shouldn't start that way. I think you're a great conductor, who happens to be female rather than a female conductor. That said, you were the first female to be the music director of a major American orchestra, and that's quite extraordinary. Do you see yourself? How do you see yourself?
Jerry, I have to say, I feel in a way that I get undue credit for being a pioneer, because I never realized surprised that there weren't women on the podium when I was a little girl determined to become a conductor. My parents were not musicians, so they didn't know either. And it was really only when I entered Manus that I started to realize that this is very unusual. So I can't really take credit for wanting to do it or being a pioneer or trying to prove something. I just, as you did, fell in love with the orchestra.
You know, it's interesting. I'm going to digress now. My mother was a psychiatrist, a medical doctor, and she went to the University of Vienna, and she was thrown out of school in 1938 because she was Jewish, obviously. And so I asked my mother, you know, when she came here in 39, I was born in 47, so I was born after the war, but I said, well, do you feel like you were a pioneer? Like, you know, and she said, no, I just became. She was, you know, she had her ego, became a great doctor, and
That
I
was her
stood,
calling.
and I stood for that, and there were no issues. I never even thought about it. So I said, well, so you wouldn't consider yourself a feminist? She said, no. I mean, nowadays, you know, maybe I would have urged her to say yes.
Say yes. Well, she was one by example anyway.
That's right.
Right.
As you are.
The way she lived her life.
And now there are so many female conductors.
There are many more now.
I mean, it's extraordinary what's
and
going
it's happened.
on.
It's happened suddenly, and I think it's because orchestras are now thinking a little differently about how they make music. You know, different repertoire, different types of concerts, different times of concerts, informances, pre-concert lectures, different types of soloists, maybe crossover repertoire. All of these things have just entered into our orchestral world fairly recently. So I think the idea of women on the podium now is not viewed with the same maybe shock it was when I very first started for the very first time. So,
but you must have been a tremendous role model for so many women, I assume.
Without realizing
Without
it, I
knowing
think.
it.
Yeah, without knowing it, because I do get a lot of calls now from young women who simply want to ask questions. How do you work with a board? Or what happens if you and your concertmaster don't see eye to eye on things? Or even, this may sound frivolous, but it's not to when you're a young conductor, what should I wear on the podium as a woman? You know, what
What's your
is
answer to that?
distracting?
Let's talk about each of those.
Well,
what do you
the-
wear?
I wear a black suit, and it's something very comfortable. And I tell the women, whatever you're the most comfortable in is what you should wear. It should be respectful. It should be non-distracting. I never encourage them to have anything that sways or bobs or moves, and something that you feel powerful but good about yourself too. I mean, you don't have to go out and feel like, boy, I'm wearing the ugliest thing that I ever wear when I go on the podium. But you do have to be in it, Alfred, that you don't think about them, right?
Yeah.
You don't think about what you're wearing when you're involved in
But
music.
you know, I think, as bizarre as it may seem, I think it's very important. We conductors have to think about everything.
It's true.
And so I know at the Eastern Music Festival I have some really good students, and I talk to them about what I think they should do, just like you.
Right.
Not distracting.
Right.
You know, you wear a solid shirt. You don't wear, if you're rehearsing, not with lots of designs on it, which
Right,
is distracting. I don't know. I'll go through my list. I think you wear long sleeves. I don't think you wear short sleeves. You know, the idea is your hands are what matters, or your face. The rest of it is of less importance. And if you're, you know, I had one guy who was muscle bound, you know, really very impressive.
And sleeveless, you wore
Yeah,
tank
yeah.
top.
And I was like, is that really what you want people to think about?
Right, right.
But then I also think you need to wear a jacket.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's a little distraction
Yeah.
for men or women.
Right,
isn't it?
right.
So,
But something simple and non-distracting, elegant and comfortable.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
So
So,
you're
okay.
thinking about the music.
so let's talk about some of the other things you mentioned. The concertmaster. You don't agree with the concertmaster about something. You brought it up.
Yes, I did, and I brought it up because it's one of
And
the,
you have great
it's one
concertmaster.
of-
You've had great
yeah,
ones,
it's one of the
both
toughest.
Virginia and in Buffalo,
It's
so.
the toughest question because it's a critical relationship. It's a relationship that has to work, and that doesn't mean you have to be best friends, but you have to be on the same page, and you have to have mutual respect. And if it's not working, you need to talk privately with that person and figure out how can we get ourselves on a good track. How can we get back to a point where we're reading each other correctly and we're setting a great example for the orchestra, because the orchestra wants to see collaboration, cooperation, and goodwill between those two main players in the orchestra.
Absolutely, no question, no question.
So-
Okay, then you mentioned relationship to the board.
Yes.
So talk about
Well,
that.
this is, learning how to be a music director is not something that probably either of us learned in school. No.
Let's not even go there. You had, was Carl Bamberger teaching when you were at
He was still there when I first started and
Yeah.
left that next year, but certainly you never talked about the role of a music director. You
There's a
simply
lot of
studied
things
your
you don't talk
scores,
about,
right?
right.
Which was good. I mean, maybe it was good. You just focused on music, but you learn very quickly when you have an orchestra, whether it be large or small, or flourishing or struggling, that you play a major role in survival and success, and you better figure it out somehow. And you have to figure it out fast. And I
So
guess that
you're in Buffalo now 20 years?
I just started my 20th year.
So let's go back 20 years ago. So I know Buffalo because Joseph Pripps was there.
Right.
Most people won't know that name, but he was a great Austrian conductor. Austrian, wasn't he? Not
Yes.
German, I think he was Austrian.
Yeah.
And Michael Tilson Thomas was there, and Bishkoff was there.
That's right.
And
Max
then-
Valdez
Max was there.
and Julius Rudel.
Oh, Julius, that's right. And now Lucas, was he in Buffalo?
Lucas was as well.
Lucas
right?
was.
And William Steinberg.
And Steinberg. Wow, what a
So
great
I was
tradition.
great tradition there.
Wow, that's it. So now here you are, young, which you still are, but even younger then, a female conductor coming to Buffalo. So, I mean, you didn't have experience as a music director before that, did you?
Well, I was working in Virginia, so
You still were working.
I did have experience as a music director, but not in the sense of an orchestra that had a history and a kind of difficulty at that point as Buffalo did. I mean, Buffalo had always been plagued by financial problems because the city has been plagued by financial problems, which is changing now. But when there are financial problems, other problems develop. Rifts between players, disagreements about repertoire, ticket sale problems. All problems come, from that general lack of stability. So winning back those friends, and it takes a long time to win back the trust of people, donors, ticket buyers.
Easy to
friends.
destroy,
It's-
hard to
Exactly, a long time to win back their trust, and so that's what I started to do, and started to build the orchestra in such a way that everyone could expect to be treated with respect, but it didn't happen overnight.
No,
Jerry.
it takes a lot.
Takes
What
long time.
I become aware of is that it doesn't even take 2 or 3 years. It takes probably more like 9 or 10 years.
Right.
Do you agree with
I
that?
agree, because I think that was, even in Virginia, the time I realized that something had happened to the orchestra to get it to a better place. I think it was about 10 years, where I could actually step back and say, it is better. The relationships are better, the karma of the orchestra is healthier, the perception of the orchestra in the city is much more positive. But I think it took 10 years to be able to actually kind of be able to quantify it, say, yes, things are different.
And what's interesting is that most conductors don't last more than 7 or 8 years.
No.
And so you never. It's very funny when you think about how long it takes to get the trust, to get the audience, to get
Right.
the whole concept of what you're trying to accomplish. I used to think it would happen much faster, but I'm convinced now that it's 10 years.
I think that was one of my biggest misconceptions too, that you could change an orchestra quickly, even in terms of artistic quality, that you could make this better right away, or
Yeah.
change some personnel and make that
That's a big flaw.
improve this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, you need to work years with the people you have, and with the change that happens naturally and respectfully, to bring it to another level.
I
And
agree.
you just can't rush it.
Those people that try to do what they call clean house,
Oh,
it's
it's
disaster.
it is a disaster, and that leaves wounds that don't heal for decades, and you're in a very difficult position. So,
Okay, the subject, obviously, so you're at Buffalo, and you've made a tremendous, extraordinary effort to do interesting American repertoire, which I will talk about a little bit later, but you're building the audience, you're building the orchestra, and of course, the orchestras especially, they have great ideas. When things aren't going well, oh, we should do more of this, we should do more of that, you should do more movie scores, you know, or you should. They have all the. I mean, I'm not
No,
saying they
it's
shouldn't.
to
That's
sell
wonderful.
tickets, yeah.
But when you get to the point where it's all going, then it's not such a big problem anymore.
Right, right.
But when you were there, I mean, here you are, this remarkable, knowledgeable person about repertoire, besides the classics, Brahms, Beethoven, Schubert, Schumann, and so forth. But you have tremendous knowledge about American music. How did you begin to integrate it without antagonizing the audience?
Well, a little at a time. And you know, Naxos was a catalyst for this, Jerry, and I know that you know Naxos very, very well, in that Klaus Heyman asked us to find repertoire that no one else knew, or that was little played, little known, and record it. So that meant I had to gain the trust of the audience to be able to do Doshnani or Novak, or all of the American and non-American people that we did. They didn't know this repertoire, so somehow I had to put
Little
it
by
in,
little.
by little, and put it in programs where it made sense, and have them come to concerts even if they didn't know the names on the program. Get to
Because they
that
trusted you.
point because they trusted that the orchestra would do a great job with it, and that it was music that I believed in and they believed in, and it's been that way for 20 years. So.
But you know, you've done that, so you've mentioned, and a lot of the composers you've recorded are what I would call traditional composers.
Mm-hmm.
But you've also been a champion of living composers.
Yes,
And you commission pieces, and you commission a piece, you don't know what you're going to get.
that's right.
I mean, you commission, I mean, people say, you know, so that's such a terrible, why'd you commission that horrible piece? Well, wait a second. Before I commissioned it, it didn't exist. You know.
Right.
The person
You
wrote
didn't ask for a
wonderful
horrible
music,
piece.
and this is
Yes.
the lemon that I have to.
Sometimes it happens, you know.
It does.
But it is exciting to commission something, especially if it's for a player in your orchestra. We have a disc coming out in Buffalo within a couple of weeks of 3 concertos that we commissioned for our own players, and that I love them all. But we were lucky with those 3. But you know, I think that audiences in the last 10, 15 years have become more open-minded to new music, more willing to give it a chance, less suspicious. More open, especially if it's American. I think they really are interested in hearing what a young American has to say today.
Mm-hmm. I remember going to a Philharmonic concert not long ago, and someone said, "Well, that wasn't so bad."
That's good, maybe.
So, you know, as you know, we get questions, and so right on this subject, we have a few questions. So I'm going to ask those. So, can you talk about your experience recording for Naxos?
Yes,
You
yes.
mentioned Klaus Heyman.
Yes, and I am a tremendous fan of Naxos because they came to Buffalo and said, "We're looking for an American orchestra. We'd like to work with you, and we don't want to record the Brahms symphonies again. We don't want to record Tchaikovsky again. So those are out. Come up with some things that are interesting, but great repertoire that people will like and that we can sell, but that people don't know." So that was great challenge for me, but one that I welcomed, because you know, Jerry, you might remember that years ago I worked with a group called the Women's Philharmonic, and all we did play there was unknown music, women of the past, contemporary women. So I was used to the mindset of discovering pieces and convincing an audience of them. So this was a wonderful charge to me from Klaus, and we went back and forth about names and possibilities, and as you do, I'm sure, with him too. And
He sure does know a lot.
he knows a lot,
Tremendous.
and I think that it's been a great adventure for the orchestra, of course, but also for the audience, because they're learning about music that they never knew existed, and it gives them an appetite, perhaps, to hear more unknown music.
Here's another one. This is for you, not for me. It says, would either of you, would either of you consider doing more, you'll see why it's not for me, recordings of the music of Frederick Converse? Have you ever recorded anything of Frederick Converse?
Yes, we
Okay.
actually
So it has to be for you.
our first disc was a disc of Frederick Shepherd Converse, the Mystic Trumpeter, Endymion's Narrative, and there was one other piece. Now this was 20 years ago. I've forgotten which one. It's great music.
Also, Jerry Wright writes in his, there are symphonies which have never been converted to disc or vinyl.
I'll look into them. I don't know those. We did the tone. We did, I guess, 3 tone poems of Frederick Shepherd Converse, but thank you, Jerry. No, I'll look at a lot of the ideas have come from people writing in or calling in or on Facebook or whatever, saying, this is a great composer. Take a look at this music. And there it is.
Yeah. There's one here that I find interesting. It says, how can conductors do a better job of collaborating with each other? Do you think that's important? Now, how many conductors do you? I mean, we're friends. We've been friends
we've been friends for a long time.
years.
Yeah.
And I remember when you got the job in Buffalo, you got to scream from the top of the buildings. You were the first.
But you know what, Jerry? You were the first person I called. When I got the job in Buffalo, I called you for advice. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
20 years ago.
I remember.
So, Jerry,
well.
what can you tell me? I've got this responsibility for an orchestra that's had its share of troubles in every way, and I'm going to start to rebuild it, try to rebuild. Please share with me how you did it, how you know how to do it. And we had long conversations, and we could continue to do that. So, yes, I believe the conductors.
So how many conductors do you actually? Are you friendly with?
Not that many, sadly, because somehow we're not in the same place at the same time. I get to meet a lot of young conductors. The Manus conductors, the graduate students come up to Buffalo all the time, and they conduct our orchestra, and they're there. So I meet them. I meet young conductors in summer festivals, as you do. So I meet a lot of young conductors, but the conductors that are working in another city when I'm in Buffalo and vice versa, I don't meet them so much. So I don't know if there's if we could ever manage to be all together in a.
Well, I think all together maybe not, but I think one-on-one is of great value. And but I do find, if I may be bold now to say, that most conductors are not comfortable.
They don't seem
with other
comfortable.
conductors. Not me. I mean, I'm very happy to be with other conductors.
To be able to call a conductor, let's say, I've never done, let's say, Bruckner Third, and ask, which edition would you suggest? I mean, you've looked at them all, and you've done probably different versions. Which is the best one? To be able to have a friend to call and ask that, or I'm having trouble finding this piece. How did you find the music? Can you help me with this? Wouldn't that be great to have a network of people who would feel comfortable enough to say, I need this, or I've got a hole in my program, and I just need something that would fit in. What do you think? What 15-minute piece would make sense?
You do get more of that from, I'm sure you do too, from people who, from me, who have been either assistants or who study with me at Eastern.
Right.
But they'll call. I mean, I remember one assistant who I'm extremely fond of, tremendous talent, has a job now, and was doing The Messiah for the first time. And I used to do it every year in Seattle, so I've done multiple forms. It's probably 20 years. And the conductor said, can I borrow your score to see what decisions you made? Who would sing which arias, which version?
Where is it double dotted? And
what editing did you do?
Yeah.
And of course I pulled it out and gave it right away. Well, of course, but I think it's a great opportunity, even if people don't agree about things.
But to just be open and all. Or if someone discovers a great piece, and you've done this with me too, discovers a great piece and then lets others know about it. Hey, I just played this and it was fabulous. I just want to make sure you know about it because you might like to do it at some point.
Well, what I found, and never with you, but with others, is that, I remember when Leonard Slankin was doing a lot of Joe Schwantner, and so was I, but he was the conductor who did all of Joe's music, and I did a few pieces because I thought he was a great composer. But there were conductors who would not do any of his music because Leonard was his champion. And I know you don't believe that because I see the programs you do.
Yeah, that seems foolish.
But it's true. Yeah. You see it quite often.
A lot of times people will say to me, well, I have this new piece, but I can't offer you the world premiere because I've already promised so-and-so. And I always say, well, thank goodness, I don't really want to do the world premiere because I know between the world premiere and the second performance, the composer is going to really refine what he wants or she wants. That's what I want.
Yeah. No, I agree. So let me just see. What hurdles do orchestras face when cultivating and developing young professional audiences? So I guess young professional audience means people who are in a profession, whether they be doctors or lawyers or business people. And where are they succeeding and failing short in bringing new blood to the audience?
Well, that's the big question for all of us. And I think the age and type of person that Andrew is talking about is the person who's building their business, just starting their professional life, maybe has a young family as well, and is very busy. So that's a challenge for us. So how do we appeal to them? Maybe through their children. I know a lot of young parents who come to a concert for the first time when they bring their child and say, "This was wonderful." Or shorter concerts, different concert times. Sometimes a concert with a kind of reception where they can be with their friends and talk together is a start to continuing in other
You know,
ways.
I've said this before, I have a daughter who's a surgeon, and her husband, she's a big music lover. She has my two grandsons, 10 and 11, and they're fantastic. They all play, and she almost never goes to concerts except children's concerts. She's a surgeon. He's a surgeon. And if they have a night off,
That's
believe
right.
me, they're
That's
not going
right.
to spend even an hour
That's
at
right.
the Milwaukee Symphony.
Right.
They're going to spend it with their
That's right.
kids. And but they're young, and 20 years from now, they'll be at the
Exactly.
the
When they
Milwaukee
don't
Symphony.
have those responsibilities, they're going to turn to the symphony and have a night off at the symphony.
Correct. And I think as the kids now are 21 or 18 or whatever, you have that flexibility. I think what we do as orchestras is we focus so much on trying to get the 30-year-olds, and we ignore the 70-year-olds.
Right.
And
right.
they're the ones who have time.
Right.
And
Or even the empty nesters for the first
Yeah.
time have time off. 50s,
Yeah.
60s, and those are the
I
people
agree.
who are ready.
This is a terrible one, so I'll ask you to. This is also from Andrew Lyon. Which up-and-coming composers are you most excited about right now?
You know, I never answer that question.
Oh, good.
Andrew.
Good. I
never
can't
answer that
answer it.
question because there are too many of them, and I'm always afraid that I'm going to leave out one, and they're going to say you don't like my music as much as you like hers. Well, so I can never answer that question. But I just did a piece this week by JoAnn, who was a big favorite, celebrating her
Love
80th
JoAnn
birthday.
What a great
And on the
composer.
same concert, we did a piece by Mike Mills, who's the guitarist from REM. So, I mean, there's a great diversity. We just recorded a piece by Carolyn Melanet in Buffalo, a fantastic young woman composer, by Jaco Cusisto, whom you might know.
Sure.
Wrote a trumpet concerto for us. And so, I mean, all over the world, they're just great composers. So out of fear of forgetting anyone, I won't say anything.
JoAnn, it's just a joy. I mean, we're going to continue. I'm going to do another one with you soon.
Thank
and
you,
I'm so
Jerry.
appreciative of you
It's great to be with you.
taking the time.
You've been a great friend. Thank you.
And you too. Thank you, Don. Thank you. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time.